Holdsworth, Monroe, and Stewart, 1994, distinguished between three types of male intimate partner violence perpetrators on the basis of three dimensions: severity of violence, generality of violence beyond the intimate relationship, and evidence of psychopathology. The first group consists of family-only batterers, whose violent behavior is limited to members of their own family, who do not show signs of psychopathological disorders, and whose violence is generally less severe and does not extend to sexual and/or psychological abuse. This group is estimated to account for about 50% of male batterers. Dysphoric borderline batterers constitute the second group. Their violence is rooted in emotional instability and psychiatric disorders. Their aggression is mainly directed towards their family, but extrafamilial violence and criminal behavior occur occasionally. About 25% of men who abuse their partners are estimated to fall into this group. Generally violent, antisocial batterers, who show violent behavior both within and outside their family, and who engage in sexual and psychological aggression, in addition to physical violence, form the third group. Their general tendency to engage in violent behavior means that they are likely to have a criminal record. In addition, alcohol and substance abuse are frequently found in this group, which is estimated to account for 25% of male batterers. A fourth group was later identified and labeled low-level antisocial men, characterized by moderate levels on the three dimensions of severity, generality, and psychopathology. Holdsworth, Monroe, et al., 2000. The differentiation between these types of abusive men has been supported by several studies. A longitudinal study by Holdsworth, Monroe, et al., 2003, concluded that men who were assigned to one of these types showed behavior consistent with the typology over a 3-year period. For example, men classified as family-only batterers at the beginning of the study continued to limit any aggressive behavior they manifested to the family context, and showed less severe aggression than did the borderline dysphoric and generally aggressive types. Typologies such as this show that men who abuse their partners are not a homogeneous group. They come to relationships with different personal characteristics and biographical experiences, and show predictable differences in the severity and generality of their aggressive behavior. Cameranci, 2016. Among the situational variables linked to an increased risk of violence between partners, alcohol consumption plays a major role. As we saw in Chapter 5, there is consistent evidence that aggressive behavior becomes more likely when people are under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol exerts a disinhibiting effect by undermining people's awareness of the anti-normative character of aggression that would prevent them from lashing out if they were sober. In addition, alcohol reduces individuals' capacity for information processing, making them more responsive to salient situational cues, such as provocations, without engaging in a careful analysis of the other person's motives or intentions. Although alcohol is not necessarily a cause of intimate partner violence, it is likely to lower the threshold for aggressive behavior in conflict situations with a partner. Foran and O'Leary, 2008, conducted a meta-analysis of 50 studies linking alcohol use and intimate partner violence. For men's violence towards a female partner involving alcohol, they found a significant effect size of R equals 0.23. For women's violence towards a male partner involving alcohol, the effect size was also significant, but smaller, with R equals 0.14. In combination, these findings show a small effect size for the association between drinking and perpetration of intimate partner violence for both men and women. Parallel findings for a range of drugs other than alcohol were obtained in the meta-analysis by Moore et al. 2008, who found that the association with intimate partner violence was strongest for cocaine. The meta-analysis by Kafursky et al. 2018, including 285 studies, confirmed the link between alcohol and drug use and intimate partner violence perpetration for both men and women, and again the link was stronger for men. Further evidence suggests that physical violence when the perpetrator, the victim, or both are drunk tends to be more severe and more likely to lead to serious harm. In a study by Graham et al. 2011, in which data were collected from 13 countries around the world. Participants were asked to think about the most severe incident of violence from a partner, if any, that they had experienced in the last 2 years. They were then asked to indicate the severity of the incident and to report whether they, the aggressor, or both, had been drinking when the incident occurred. As predicted, incidents in which one or both partners had been drinking were rated as more severe by both men and women across all participating countries. Variables associated with an increased risk of intimate partner violence have also been identified at the relationship level. The meta-analysis of risk markers of intimate partner violence victimization by Spencer et al. 2019 concluded that the strongest predictors of victimization were variables at the relationship level, such as low marital satisfaction, demand withdrawal relationship patterns, and perpetrators' power in the relationship. Abuse is more likely to occur in relationships based on patriarchal attitudes and role divisions, in which the man dominates the relationship and has power over his female partner. This is particularly true for cultures that link male dominance to the concept of honor, in which a man's social status and reputation are defined by the extent to which he has control over his female partner. Cannes, 2018. Finally, research has asked whether the prevalence of intimate partner violence varies in relation to variables at the macro level of societies and cultures. The meta-analysis by Mallory et al. 2016 examined whether the strength of a range of risk factors for intimate partner violence varied between individualist and collectivist cultures. This distinction was introduced by Hofstede 2013 to describe cultures that value autonomy and personal characteristics, individualism, from cultures that value social bonds and group memberships, collectivism. Within individualist cultures, Mallory et al. 2016 distinguished between studies from the U.S. and other countries. Younger age was a stronger risk marker for intimate partner violence perpetration in the U.S. than in studies from other individualist and from collectivist cultures. Witnessing parental violence and engaging in emotional abuse were stronger risk markers in collectivist cultures than in individualist cultures, including the U.S., and relationship satisfaction was a stronger risk marker in collectivist countries in the U.S. than in other individualist countries. For the majority of risk markers, however, no significant differences between the three comparison groups were found. In another meta-analysis, Spencer et al. 2019 compared the strength of risk markers of intimate partner violence perpetration between countries with high and low income inequality. They reasoned that high income inequality contributes to the disorganization of social structures and creates stress, both of which have been linked to higher levels of violence in societies. Research studies were classified as coming from countries with high and low income inequality based on the Gini index developed by the World Bank, which ranges from 0, maximum equality, to 100, maximum inequality. Of a total of 29 significant risk markers of physical intimate partner violence perpetration, only 5 differed significantly between countries with high and low income inequality. Young age, emotional abuse perpetration, violence against other family members, and witnessing family aggression in childhood were more strongly related to physical, intimate partner violence perpetration in countries with high income inequality, whereas experience of trauma was more strongly related to physical, intimate partner violence in countries with low income inequality. Overall, the findings from the two meta-analyses, while revealing some differences at the macro level of different countries, point to the more important role of variables at the individual and relationship level as critical risk markers and risk factors for intimate partner violence perpetration. Consequences of physical partner violence. Intimate partner violence is costly for societies as a whole. A report by the World Health Organization highlights the economic burden of different forms of partner abuse. In a survey of over 3,000 women in the U.S., Rivera et al. 2007 found that annual healthcare costs were 19% higher among victims of intimate partner violence than among non-victimized women. Based on a victimization rate of 44% in their sample, they estimated that for every 100,000 women in the healthcare system, excess healthcare costs of $19.3 million are incurred each year as a result of intimate partner violence. This section focuses on the psychological impact of partner abuse on the victim's mental health and well-being at the individual level. Intimate partner violence leads to a variety of physical consequences, including serious injuries, a higher incidence of stress-related physical illnesses, and economic effects, such as poverty resulting from leaving an abusive relationship or due to employment instability. Coker et al., 2011. In the 2015 National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, NISVS, 2/3 of self-reported female victims and 1/3 of male victims reported that the victimization experience across different forms of intimate partner violence had an adverse impact on their lives. The specific forms of adverse impact are shown in Figure 8.1, Danverno et al., 2019. These findings also suggest that the impact of intimate partner violence is higher on women than on men, as fewer male than female victims report adverse effects. The prevalence of lifetime physical intimate partner violence victimization in this survey was similar for women, 30.6%, and men, 31%, but a clear asymmetry between the gender groups appeared for the impact of victimization. A large research literature has demonstrated that women's experience of intimate partner violence is predictive of severe physical and mental health problems. These include a heightened risk of cardiovascular disease, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicidality. Golding, 1999. Evidence on male victims of intimate partner violence is more limited and less clear. The review by Randall and Graham, 2011, identified several studies that showed higher rates of PTSD in victimized compared with non-victimized men, but a longitudinal study by Aaron Saft et al. 2006 failed to corroborate this conclusion. For depression and suicidal ideation, the evidence was more conclusive, showing higher rates among victimized compared with non-victimized men, paralleling the findings for female victims. Moreover, the longitudinal study by Simmons et al. 2015 found that intimate partner violence victimization predicted substance abuse and depressive symptoms in male victims. Even fewer data are currently available on the effects of intimate partner abuse in LGBT+ samples, but what little evidence there is suggests a similar impact of intimate partner violence victimization in these groups as in heterosexual couples. Randall and Graham, 2011. A recent longitudinal study by Reuter et al. 2017 confirmed intimate partner violence victimization as a prospective predictor of depressive symptoms in LGBT+ young adults. Overall, there is strong evidence that partner abuse may lead to long-term psychological distress and impairment. To ameliorate these adverse effects, a critical first step is to stop the continuation of abuse. Becoming trapped in abusive relationships because of psychological mechanisms such as denial, self-blame, and adaptation to violence is a common fate of victims of intimate partner violence. Of those who make an attempt to break away and seek refuge in shelters for battered women, about a third eventually return to their abusive partners, and some studies suggest even higher figures. Barnett et al., 2011. Thus, empowering women to gain independence from abusive partners, both psychologically and in terms of managing their everyday lives, must be a key objective of intervention work with victims of partner abuse. Interventions to reduce violent behavior towards partners will be discussed in Chapter 12.